It all began on what should have been a joyful day, my brother-in-law Ethan's 40th birthday party. Ethan's wife had pulled out all the stops, hosting a lavish barbecue at their suburban home. The backyard was alive with laughter, the scent of grilled meat heavy in the air, and the warm glow of family chatter surrounding us. It was a picture-perfect celebration, a day meant for happiness and connection, but instead, it marked the moment my life began to unravel. For weeks leading up to that day, I had noticed subtle shifts in my wife Emily's behavior. She had grown distant, her eyes often fixed on her phone late into the night. Conversations between us had become clipped, her tone defensive whenever I asked about her sudden preoccupation. I had brushed it off as work stress. She'd recently taken on a major project, and I wanted to be supportive, but at the party, a feeling of unease settled over me, and I couldn't ignore it anymore. As I stood chatting with Ethan about football, my gaze drifted across the yard and landed on Emily. She was standing at the edge of the patio, talking to her cousin Ryan. Ryan wasn't close family, more of a peripheral figure who showed up at larger gatherings. He was the type of man who thrived on attention, charming and self-assured to the point of arrogance. At first, their interaction seemed harmless. Emily laughed at something he said, her hand brushing his arm in a gesture so brief, I almost dismissed it. But as I reached for another beer, I noticed them slipping away together toward the side of the house. My stomach tightened. There was no reason for them to be sneaking off alone, and the casualness with which they disappeared only heightened my suspicion. "You good, Jason?" Ethan asked, his voice pulling me back. "Yeah, just hot," I replied, forcing a smile. I pretended to head for the drinks table, but veered toward the side yard instead, keeping my distance and pretending to scroll through my phone. I found them near the side gate, their heads bent close in hushed conversation. Emily glanced over her shoulder, her movements tense and nervous. I couldn't hear their words, but I saw Ryan pull something from his pocket, a small package, which he handed to her. Emily took it quickly, shoving it into her purse without a second glance. My heart pounded as they parted ways, Ryan striding back to the party while Emily lingered for a moment, staring at her phone. That night, sleep eluded me. My mind was a whirlpool of questions. What was in that package? Why had they been so secretive? I told myself I was overreacting, that my imagination was running wild. But the image of her nervous glance and hurried movements replayed in my mind on an endless loop. 2 weeks later, another family event approached. My niece Ava's 10th birthday party, a poolside celebration at my sister's house. I decided this would be my opportunity to observe Emily and Ryan more closely. Confrontation was premature. I needed certainty first. The morning of the party was unbearably humid, the air thick and sticky. Emily seemed unusually cheerful, spending extra time on her hair and makeup and buying a new sundress for the occasion. I tried to tell myself it was innocent, that she just wanted to look her best. But when we arrived, I saw her scanning the crowd almost immediately. Her face lit up when Ryan appeared, his aviator sunglasses perched cockily on his nose. I kept my distance, watching them interact without appearing to. They were careful, their conversations brief and casual. But I saw the subtle cues, the lingering looks, the faint brush of fingers as they passed one another. At one point, Emily whispered something to Ryan that made him laugh, his hand briefly touching the small of her back. It was a gesture that sent a surge of anger through me. Testing her, I casually suggested, "Emily, want to come with me to grab some soda?" She barely looked up. "Nah, I'll stay and help your sister with the cake," she replied breezily. That was my moment. Instead of leaving, I slipped through the side yard and into the house, positioning myself near the staircase. I didn't have to wait long. Within 10 minutes, Emily and Ryan entered the house, glancing around to ensure no one was watching. They ascended the stairs, and I followed silently, my heart pounding so loudly I was sure they would hear it. I stopped just outside the guest room, the door slightly ajar. Through the gap, I saw them in an embrace, their bodies pressed together in a way that left no room for misinterpretation. Ryan's hand was on Emily's thigh, and she leaned into him, her head resting against his shoulder. It was intimate, too intimate, and their carelessness, the open door, the audacity of it, made it even more infuriating. My first instinct was to burst in, to confront them on the spot. But I knew it would accomplish nothing. I needed undeniable proof. Shaking, I pulled out my phone and recorded the scene for a few seconds before retreating unnoticed. Back at the party, I forced myself to act normal, though every smile felt like a mask hiding my simmering rage. Emily and Ryan rejoined the gathering later, looking composed, as if nothing had happened. They thought they'd gotten away with it. In the days that followed, my heartbreak turned into cold determination. They wouldn't get away with this, not quietly. Their betrayal deserved to be exposed for everyone to see. I began planning meticulously. A family barbecue at my parents' house was just weeks away, and it was the perfect opportunity. I backed up the recording multiple times, ensuring it was safe on various devices. I bought a portable speaker and tested its sound quality to guarantee no one would misunderstand what they were seeing or hearing. On the morning of the barbecue, Emily hummed cheerfully as she got ready. Her obliviousness would have been amusing if it hadn't been so infuriating. At the party, I watched them closely. As expected, they maintained a facade of normalcy, exchanging only the occasional glance. But eventually, they slipped away again. Emily first, Ryan following minutes later. I gave them a head start before following, finding them in the garage, leaning close and whispering. This time, I recorded them again, anger bubbling beneath my calm exterior. They thought they were untouchable, but they had no idea the storm that was about to descend. The late afternoon sun cast a golden glow across the backyard, the hum of conversation and laughter weaving a vibrant atmosphere. Standing near the patio table, my beer bottle cool in my hand, I felt the weight of what I was about to do settle heavily on my shoulders. My fingers tightened around the fork I held, and with a deliberate motion, I tapped it against the bottle. The metallic clink rang out, cutting through the noise. "Hey, everyone," I called out, forcing a smile that felt fragile. "Can I get your attention for a minute?" The chatter faded as heads turned toward me. The expectant gazes of my family members made my pulse quicken, but I steadied myself. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Emily and Ryan still in the garage, oblivious to the brewing storm. They were laughing about something, their ease and comfort with each other a cruel contrast to the chaos I was about to unleash. "I just wanted to share something really special with you all," I began, my voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through me. The words came out carefully measured, masking the torrent of emotions bubbling beneath the surface. Reaching into my pocket, I pulled out my phone and connected it to the Bluetooth speaker resting on the table. A small chime confirmed the connection, a signal that there was no turning back. "It's a little family moment I caught on video," I added, keeping my tone deceptively casual. The screen of my phone lit up as I tapped play. For a moment, there was nothing but the quiet hum of the speaker, and then the backyard filled with unmistakable sounds. Emily's soft laughter, Ryan's murmured words, the quiet intimacy of their betrayal. The video played clearly, their faces and actions unmistakable. Gasps rippled through the group, breaking the heavy silence. Some family members froze, their expressions a mix of shock and disbelief, while others exchanged horrified glances. It was as though time had stopped, the gravity of the revelation weighing down the air around us. Emily and Ryan appeared from the garage, their private conversation replaced by matching looks of confusion as they noticed the stillness that had overtaken the gathering. Their laughter faded, replaced by uneasy smiles as they glanced around. "What's going on?" Emily asked, her voice hesitant, her eyes darting from person to person before landing on me. When she saw my phone, her face paled. I didn't answer her. Instead, I turned the phone screen toward them, the video still playing. Their betrayal was laid bare, undeniable and devastating. Emily's eyes widened as recognition washed over her, her body stiffening. "Jason," she stammered, her voice trembling. "What is this?" "Oh, you don't recognize it," I replied coldly, my eyes narrowing. "Maybe Ryan can help jog your memory." Ryan's usual cocky confidence had vanished, replaced by a flush that crept up his neck and into his cheeks. This isn't what it looks like," he muttered, his voice barely audible. He shifted his weight uneasily, glancing at the expectant stares of the family around him. "Save it," I snapped, my voice cutting through the murmurs. "You've both done enough talking behind my back." Chaos erupted. My mother gasped, her hand trembling as she brought it to her mouth. My father's face darkened, the anger in his eyes unmistakable. Emily's sister, who had always idolized her, looked stunned, as if she'd been physically struck. Ryan's parents stood frozen, their expressions a mixture of shame and disbelief. Emily stepped toward me, her face wet with tears that streaked her makeup. "Jason, please," she begged, her voice breaking. "We can talk about this." "We're way past talking," I said, my tone firm and unyielding. "You lied to me, humiliated me, and now everyone here knows exactly who you are." Emily crumbled, her sobs racking her body. Ryan, avoiding everyone's eyes, stood stiff and awkward, as if he could disappear if he stayed still enough. My father, whose voice always carried weight, spoke next, his booming tones silencing the whispers around us. "You've disgraced this family, Emily," he said, his disappointment palpable. He turned his gaze to Ryan, his expression hard. "And you? How could you betray your own cousin?" Ryan opened his mouth as though to speak, but I cut him off before he could utter a word. "You don't get to say anything," I said, my voice rising. "You're nothing to me now. Don't call me. Don't come near me. And if I ever see your face again, you'll regret it." Ryan stepped back, his face pale and drawn, his parents following him in silent shame. Emily dropped to her knees, her cries breaking the uneasy stillness. "Jason," she pleaded, her voice cracking, "please don't do this. Don't throw everything we've built away." "Throw it away?" I asked bitterly. "You already burned it to the ground. I'm just making sure everyone sees the ashes." I turned to the rest of the family, raising my voice to address them. "I'm done. Don't expect me at any more gatherings if they're here. I won't share a room with liars and cheaters." My mother stepped toward me, her voice soft and pleading. "Jason, you don't have to do this now," she said, her hand resting gently on my arm. "We can figure this out together." I shook my head, my resolve hardening. "No, Mom, this isn't something you fix. Some wounds are permanent." Without another word, I walked away. Behind me, the murmurs of the family faded, replaced by Emily's desperate cries. But I didn't stop or turn around. I left her there, surrounded by the wreckage of her choices. That night, the silence of my home was deafening, but it was a relief after the chaos of the day. I poured myself a drink, sat on the couch, and began making plans, divorce papers, new living arrangements, anything to sever the ties that bound me to her. In the weeks that followed, the story spread quickly. Most of the family sided with me, their outrage directed at Emily and Ryan. Emily's parents called, their voices filled with shame and regret. Even Ryan's parents, furious at his actions, disowned him. Emily tried to reach out, leaving long, rambling messages and pleading texts, but I ignored them. One message stuck with me, though. Asterisk, "You're punishing me for a mistake I'll regret for the rest of my life. I love you, Jason. Please give me a chance to make it right." Asterisk, I laughed bitterly when I read it. Love? If this was her version of love, I want no part of it. Eventually, I blocked her number and filed for divorce. The settlement was airtight. No alimony, no payouts. She would leave with what she brought into the marriage. Nothing. As for Ryan, he slithered away, moving out of state in disgrace. The betrayal cut deep, but it didn't destroy me. It taught me to value my worth and to surround myself with people who truly cared. Emily and Ryan became nothing more than bitter memories, reminders of the strength it takes to rise from betrayal. I rebuilt my life piece by piece, stronger and wiser than before.